Hi, everyone. Good morning. Um, Welcome to episode 5 of the In Touch podcast. Four of us are here today from the In Touch community of mental health advocates. And you might have noticed today it's four guys who are here to talk to you. That's because today we're here to talk about men's mental health. Right in time for Men's Health Week, not Mental Health Week. Pero kami yung magdadagdag nun. Anyway, just so you're not listening to four random strangers talking about men's mental health, we'll take the time to introduce ourselves and we'll get going after that. So, since nauna na ako, hi everyone, I'm Ian Agustin. I am a mental health professional. I am a licensed psychologist and also I work as a movement therapy coach and sometimes as a fitness coach as well. So, the peg there is like about just being overall a coach for overall health and wellness, not just for men, I mean for everyone, but today specifically we're talking about men's mental health, and since I'm a guy, I'm pretty qualified to talk about that. Who wants to go next?
Hi everyone, I am Jeffrey. I'm actually a licensed nutritionist dietitian. I'm actually a volunteer, one of the volunteer of In Touch community, and I'm very thankful that I'm doing a podcast again regarding this topic. Yeah.
Hello, so my name is Fred. I am currently a licensed psychometrician and a volunteer for InTouch. So mental health in general actually is very close to my heart, especially with, things that have happened to me personally as well. So experiences like that, as well as with friends, have been close to my heart. So, talking about that, working with it has always been my passion. So I think it's good to talk about men's mental health as well. So yes, happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm Joseph. I've been at InTouch for quite a while now, as I recently made a move to the internship and youth advocacy program as one of their coordinators. And I'm just really happy to be here and to be able to talk about this something that's often not talked about, especially among other guys. So it's really cool. And yeah, I hope you guys like it also. So yeah, it's me.
So I guess that's a really cool thing, but it's like Joseph, you said, it's something that people usually don't talk about. Any ideas? I mean, coming from the three of you.
I think the reason why a lot of people don't really talk about, from a guy to guy perspective of like talking about problems or like mental health in general is just that, where there's kind of that thought that we're supposed to be masculine even in our conversations, even, despite all of that, as well as the physical things, from sports to just very surface level things. And we just ended at that because we wouldn't want to make ourselves weak in front of other people who are also males. So I think that's one of the reasons why men's mental health is so hard to talk about nowadays as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we come from a generation where, as kids, diba, it was always, di bawal umiyak, hindi ka dapat umiiyak, like coming from our dads or our grandfathers, na again, has to be very masculine. So showing emotions and being emotional isn't like something that most guys have been open about. I mean, generally, I guess from our generation going down the line to the Gen Z, more people have been more open about it, right? But it's still basically kung midway lang tayo, everyone above us might not be. And I guess that's why in part we're here today. Yeah, how about you, Jeff?
I think important din kasi yung parang kung kanino siguro yung guy mag-share. I think yung taong sharean mo rin kasi minsan kasi hindi niya naintindihan or mas may judge ka niya. So yeah, importante rin siguro yung importante maging open din yung mga guys, pero not to everyone. What do you think?
I guess the question there is sino, diba? Who do you get to open up to? And yeah, I mean, well, that's in part why we're here. We're volunteers and counselors from In Touch. So there's us. But I mean, in life, diba? Like I guess in life, sino ba? I mean, who did you guys open up to when you were younger or even up to now?
I think for me, it was always like a female figure.
Yeah,
Even a female
same,
friend, even a
right?
sister. Like it's so intimate that way for some reason. Like even the conversations would be like a different level compared to like just talking to a guy. Even how close you are. Like sometimes it's a different kind of feeling when you get to that point as well.
Yeah, siguro kasi iba yung dynamic, no? I mean, like, with guy friends, usually barkada yan or your group. Tas hindi uso yung you talk about your feelings or you talk about something intimate. I remember, like, even with me, pag kami ng best friend ko, pinaka fun conversations namin always happened when we were driving somewhere. Like, on break kami, 3-hour break kami from class, drive kami from UP to Techno Hub, tapos kakain kami doon, tapos kwentuhan na kami the whole time. That was such a intimate but also very casual way of conversing and just talking about, life. And iba talaga, siguro, coming from the usual dynamic na barkada, diba, with all guys coming from high school. Lalo na, I mean, I came from an all-boys school. How about you guys?
Same.
Same
I also
here.
came from an all boys school, and same dynamic. Like you just talk to like you're just around dudes all the time, and iba yung like yung way of talking. Like when you talk to guys, especially growing up, you're just so used to talking about certain topics like sports. Fred mentioned that those are usual topics. Sports. You talk about girls. You talk about what else do dudes talk about?
Games.
Games, right? So it's like I mean it's not bad naman, It's a way of bonding, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I think we're not here naman para i-change yun. Kasi actually para sa akin, parang weird din naman kung talagang sobrang open up tayo to one another. Pag sa lalaki, sa lalaki. I think sobrang pili siguro. Pili lang siguro yung mga tao.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone naman, di ba? Pili lang naman yung mga nakakausap nila. But I think what Joseph said was pretty fun kasi it's a big way to cope, at least with mental health, di ba? With any distractions, any anxieties, the sports, the basketball, the video games. I mean, for me, it was video games, a lot of anime, TV shows, pretty much all my life. And yeah, I mean, di ba? Parang kung yun nakaka-relax sa'yo, that's what helps with the anxiety, with the stress. And it really helped with me and keep me not too bored over the long summers and all. Yeah.
Well, actually, I agree. Actually, with the four of us, mas naging mabilis sa akin mag-open up to mga babaeng kaibigan compared to guy friends. Yeah, I'm not sure why though. I'm not sure. Parang mas willing lang sila siguro to hear other than my guy friends. Or yun nga, hindi nga sanay yung guy to guy na mag-open up to one another. So parang sobrang awkward lang talaga.
Right. I actually I like that, Jeff. Yung parang mas willing sila makinig. Like for me personally, growing up, like I'm the youngest in a family of 8, and I had 3 brothers, 4 sisters, and it's just I am always more often closer sa mga sisters ko. Whenever I'm feeling bad about school or pinagalitan ako, they're always the ones who approach, and they're just easier to talk to. And I come from a Chinese family, and I'm just serious. Like my dad is like a wall,
So same here, brother.
It's
Same
just
here,
he
yeah.
doesn't talk, he's hard to get to. And so and then coming from an all boys school, especially nung nag-college, and then I was suddenly exposed to like more girls, and then it was just like easier to talk to them, because they were more approachable, more understanding, and parang they could like reach a side of me na parang didn't come out. And
Right.
I think part of it is learned. Like yung culture here in the Philippines. And then, yeah, I think a lot of it is learned. What do you guys think?
I think also, yeah, I echo your point, Joseph, that, coming from an all boys school, it's really hard to just say everything. Because when I tried to, back in high school, when I tried to just share my feelings, I'm that kind of person that was very open to talk about my feelings. And I wasn't really the number one person in the friend group after all of that, because people would label me as dramatic and everything. It was super hard to just cope with it, because how do you put yourself out there? How do you say what you need to say without really just keeping it in? And I only had guy friends back at that time, so I didn't know what to do as well. And when I got to that point, learning a lot of those stuff in college, as well as I met people who are girls as well, and got to become that same person to them, I was treated way better as well. So it was also just the treatment, or like how they would, I wouldn't say like judge you, but they would like really avoid the conversation when it's a guy to guy kind of thing.
I remember ako naman, at least coming from high school, like my best friend, the reason why we became like super close is because I opened up to him. So minsan hit or miss, 'di ba? Parang sometimes it's funny because some people might just be waiting for you to kind of open up, and then maybe it'd be okay for them to reciprocate that trust. Pero other times naman, parang di mo rin sure kung okay lang ba. And I think dun parang nagtitipto, 'di ba? Yung conversation with guys na parang ano ba, will I open up or not? In fact, I remember growing up, alam mo yun, when guys have problems, they usually, 'di ba, naglalabasan yun sa inuman or paglasing na. Parang why does it have to be, or why is it usually an inuman talk pag opening up na, or something more heartfelt?
Mas malakas lang siguro loob pag may alak.
But yeah,
Tapos, pagsisisihan mo siya the next morning siguro kung ginawa mo yun.
Make
Yeah,
or break siguro ng friendship, no?
yeah, there's something about really just drinking and just letting loose. I think a lot of that is because we keep ourselves very hesitant when we do these things, kasi may experience tayo. Then when we're like cool, warmed up, everything, tapos nakainom na, doon lang tayo nakakalabas ng everything talaga.
For me, like in high school, like my friends and I would sleep over at one of our friends' house. It's like drink late at night, and then we'd play video games. We'd play 2K. We'd play like Mario Party, just games. And then every once in a while, like may isa medyo parang may lumabas after uminom, and then one of us will talk, and parang yung alcohol becomes a way to sort of bring down the wall. Kasi parang I feel like as men, we always have our guards up. We don't reveal too much. We don't want to seem vulnerable. We don't want to be seen as feminine, when we show emotions. But then sometimes lumalabas talaga. And taking that opportunity to just have a heart-to-heart talk really opens things up.
I think that's a funny thing, diba, na parang we all just wanna look strong, be strong, act strong. And in my mind, I think that idea of trying so hard to do that is actually even more stressful and anxiety inducing, at least para sa akin. So parang, alam mo yun, yung extra effort doing that, mas lalo lang ako naging vulnerable, or at least the idea is there because I really don't care how I look or act or what happens. But I'm guessing, at least for a lot of guys, diba, yung effort, the extra effort in their heads na kailangan malakas ako, kailangan bato lang, kailangan di magsalita. Maybe it's eating them up inside. I mean, most of my friends aren't like that, but like coming from high school, you can tell, di ba? Lalo na, sabi nga nila, di ba, yung mga bullies daw, a lot of them is just putting on airs. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets tiring. Like, I think at the end of the day, as you pointed out, Ian, that it all comes down to like how people would perceive us, and it like how our reputations are so important that we really have to hide those things away. And it's so hard to really keep that wall when you really want to break it down deep down in your head. And when you feel those stuff, and when it's all pent up and everything, like what do, right? Like, do you just keep being the person that people want you to be, masculine and everything, or do you just, ask help? And it's some sort of dilemma that you're always trying to struggle with or wrestle with, and it's so hard as well.
Especially coming from an all boys school. I mean, I guess you guys know how it goes, diba? The reputation or how people see you. It's a lot. Na if it's not okay, parang it really ruins the whole, I don't know, grade school, high school experience. You get bullied and ostracized sometimes, and that sucks. I mean, for me, I guess that might have been my turning point. Na I just stopped caring. But how about you guys? Was there like a turning point for you? Na the walls just broke down, hindi na kailangan, because to be honest, at least for me, not having that pressure to be strong all the time is a huge load off my shoulders.
Uh, for me personally, it took a long time, honestly. Like for so many years, like as a kid and in high school, like I went through very difficult times. Like I was bullied back in high school, and parang I couldn't really cope with that very well. But luckily I had good friends. Um, but really, that experience really made me put my walls up, and it's been taking a really long time to get out of that. Like I've developed social anxiety from that, and it was a real struggle, especially in college. Um, but it also helped a lot with confidence, and just being more exposed to people na actually care or want to understand. And for me, yung turning point was, I guess, being part of In Touch. Like, this was my first job. This is the first workplace I was ever exposed to, and we really talked about mental health here. I've never really had that kind of environment. Na people ask, "How are you?" And that's just such a hard question, but it's a good question. You know, and in my family, we don't really ask that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think Joseph, I can really relate to you since growing up in a Chinese family also. Parang hindi kasi uso sa atin yung parang magkakamustahan right sa isang bahay, right? So, parang kung nangyari man yun, sobrang cringy or sobrang awkward niya.
yeah,
And, I think that's how our parents were brought up din kasi by their parents. Yeah, I think
mhm.
that's one thing the reason why I'm here, because that's one thing that I really wanted to change starting from my generations pababa. Is to yun nga, sirain yung walls na yun na being Chinese na parang sobrang quiet lang all the time, and na parang kahit deep inside sobrang may sama na loob, parang pipiliin mo na lang manahimik. I'm not sure with Filipino culture sa mga bahay, but I have a lot of Filipino friends na mas open sila sa isa't isa rather than in Chinese. Yeah, I think that's the culture na siguro yung gusto kong baguhin or i-change. Yeah, that for me.
I mean, I guess that
Same.
culture is apparent everywhere, diba? Lalo na, I guess in Filipinos naman, it's yung mga tita.
Yeah.
Diba? Yung mga ano ba yan, ganun.
Right.
Ang daming comments parate, even in families, it's a normal thing. But like, as guys, diba? I mean, I guess as girls, diba, if you have your sisters, diba, they can always talk to each other, they have their friends. But like, as guys growing up, like, how did you deal with that when in mga family reunion or mga, yun nga, if it comes from family, diba, and family is supposed to be the safe place, like, how do you guys deal with all of yung mga, minsan napipintas kayo or nasistress lang kayo, tapos, back then, like, how do you make sure you were still sane and okay mentally?
I think for me, at least, it was about, you know, you know, sometimes that you're a different person when you're with your family versus when you're with your friends versus with etc etc. And
Agree.
when you're with your family, and you mentioned it already, that they would do a lot of comments and ang dami talaga, and you just sometimes just laugh it off or just say, oo, okay, okay, okay. Pero deep down in your head, pagka talikod mo, sobrang kamot ka na sa ulo and everything. So it's just ang hirap kasi it's just sometimes keeping it in your pride just to avoid a very public argument, especially in a family reunion, di ba? Alam mo naman, in family reunions, sobrang skandalo yun. So it's hard. It's really just putting on a mask sometimes, especially with your family, especially if it's like a traditional family that thinks na, oh, nasa utak lang yan and everything.
Sorry, I was just thinking, parang putting on that mask, di ba? Parang, when do you guys take yours off? Like, ako, I just try not to. Pero yun, in one ear, out the other, kahit wala nang mask. Pero, yeah, I mean, I guess growing up, no, all of us had to deal with that. Sabi nga ni Jeff na trying to change the stigma or how family works. And huge deal siguro siya. Like, I wonder if our parents at their age, kaya pa kaya nila to, be more progressive, I guess, if for a lack of a better term. I love Joseph's face.
I don't know, man. Honestly, like I see it here and there, but what they say, old dogs can't learn new tricks. But kayo.
Yeah, it's hard. Even me, I think people become more progressive, or our parents become more progressive because lots of things happen. And if news is worldwide, like kunyari, like LGBT marriage back in 2014, 2015, basta in the US, diba? When that became a big thing globally, at least it became more accepted, yung LGBTQI plus culture. And like, I could tell, like, even my dad was a little more like, not that accepting. I don't know. I don't know if it's accepting or at least tolerant of that. So maybe it takes a global thing or really a cultural shift. Kasi maybe individuals, like Joseph said, for if old dogs have a really hard time learning new tricks.
But it's also hard. I think it really comes from the fact that they experience a lot. That's why they think they know a lot, and from that they feel that oh, this is how I brought up. This is how I cope. Everyone should also cope like that, and it gets like passed down and passed down and passed down.
But it's slowly shifting. I mean, in our generation, like, at least, and everyone below us, diba? It's shifting out to the point that sometimes a lot of the older generations, or even a lot of the older millennials, are taking shots at Gen Z. Parang always complaining, always they're softies and all of that. They're so emotional. They complain about everything. Not always a bad thing. I guess there's that line. I mean, siguro as guys, diba? Because even a lot of the guys in Gen Z are more woke. Where do we draw that line? Line between tama pa ba yung all the complaining and all the criticism, or like, is it also good na accept it, deal with it like our parents had to?
Yeah, I agree with that. No? Parang naging guilty din ako sa ganun kasi sinasabi ko, ba't yung mga bata ngayon, ganito, ganyan na sila. Pero if you look at it, ganun din naman sinabi sa atin ng mga parents natin, ba't yung mga millennials ngayon, ganito, ganito. Tapos we're doing the same with other generations. So I think it's more on understanding why they are the way they are, na ganun sila. Rather than mas ginajudge sila or mas pinipinta sila na, ba't ganun na yung generation ngayon, mga Gen Z, ba't ganun sila? I think may reason din kasi syempre, iba na rin yung mundo.
I think what's good with the younger generation now, like they know our experiences, and we're not afraid to tell them our experiences, our learnings
Yeah.
and everything. And they have a choice if they want to really criticize that, if they want to accept it. It's not something that older generations would just have to accept and everything. And that's something very progressive in terms of especially with the younger generation now.
So are good things coming? Do you guys think good things are coming in terms of at least being more open as guys in terms of mental health, in terms of our feelings, in terms of being able to express ourselves?
I believe so. Kasi yung mga friends ko na parang may mga babies na or may mga first babies na, parang mas open sila, mas sila pa ngayon mas nagpo-post ng mga, di ba, ng mga pictures ng babies nila or ng messages tungkol sa babies nila. Parang, yeah, I think there's good changes are coming.
I mean, we're having this conversation, aren't we? I mean, I think that's a big change. And I feel like we're in the middle. We know what it was like, for our parents, the older generations. Like we know their experiences, because they tell us, yung mga nung bata ako, ganyan ako, or like when I was growing up, I was like this. You hear that a lot. You hear it when they scold you, like you shouldn't be crying. Nung ginawa sa akin yun, wala naman. And then we see the younger generation now who are, I guess, parang on the other side of the spectrum. With the older generations, they're mga hardened, mga stoic people. Tapos, ngayon, more emotional, but also more in touch with themselves. And I think there's a good opportunity to parang find the balance, to also be resilient, but also be able to express, what you're feeling, what you're going through, and to be able to reach out to other people. And I guess, what do you guys think? Like, in what ways has it benefited you? Like, being able to talk about mental health, like in your own experiences, like how has it benefited you?
I think ang pinaka the most classic examples I have of that are when I had troubles with like a past girlfriend. Like I always had my best friend to talk to, like dali lang to just open up. And the thing with Filipinos, diba? I mean, everyone really, minsan kailangan lang ng kausap, kailangan lang mailabas, kailangan lang ma-vent out. And I guess that's part of what therapy is actually. It's just really being able to vent that out and release it. And it's so cathartic. So sometimes being able to talk about how you feel or kung anong problems mo, having someone to listen and having someone to bounce ideas off is always a great thing. But at the same time, yun nga, having that resiliency and being able to be strong also, but not necessarily strong in the masculine way na kailangan macho all the time. Be strong in the sense na you're confident in who you are and what you do, and just really developing habits is like developing habits to make you happy and keep you sane is a great thing. Like for me, it's that balance between having my trusted friends and having people I can trust to talk to, but at the same time knowing na kahit mag-isa, may mga nagagawa ako to keep me happy, to keep me functioning. I mean, pandemic pa rin naman, people really can't go out. So like I work out alone at home, even if I'm alone. It's all of that.
I think other than the resiliency is just from talking about it, it's so easy to grow. Like in my weakness, especially in my experience, that in my own personal rock bottom, so to speak, like I found, as cliche as it always sounds, I found my growth. I found my strength again, and it's something that I wouldn't really trade for the world. Really, just talking about it, going back to therapy and everything, just having the initiative to really learn and to really acknowledge. Because I mean, at the end of the day, the first thing to resiliency, to solving anything, is just acknowledging it, like it's there. And after like acknowledging, then that's when you have a conversation about it, because you know where you stand, you know where it starts, and that kind of initiative really goes a long way as well.
Um, yeah, well, for me, actually, I, parang first time ko nagpa-consult professionally, that's with yung sinend sa akin. Parang, sino yung gusto magpa-consult with In Touch. So, parang nag-start na ako last 2 weeks. And I agree with Ian na being able to vent out really helped me. Not necessarily may nasabi sa akin yung psychiatrist, something that really helps me, but being able to vent out, I think yun yung nakatulong talaga sa akin. Yung nasabi ko lang, yun, nakapag-share na ako. Really help my mood, helps with my mood.
Are there other things that you guys do? I mean, syempre, talking to someone is great, venting out. What about, I guess, for anyone listening out there, diba? Parang, anong gagawin ko? What else do you guys do? If I were to start, I already said, I do a lot of fitness. I love doing it. Exercise releases, usual endorphins, dopamine, makes you happy hormones. All true. But not everyone loves it. I know not everyone does that. So for me, that's it. That, video games, Netflix, things that keep me occupied instead of overthinking the pandemic and all of that. Sa inyo, anong ginagawa nyo?
Well, kasi may mga days ako na parang I know na kailangan ko mag-workout para to get out of my head. Kailangan ko mag-play ng games or distract myself. Pero may mga days din kasi na I really can't push myself to do those things. Well, what helped me is actually by accepting na there will always be going to be bad days, and it's okay na may ganun na araw na you don't have to fight it. Sometimes na parang minsan just accept it and then just lay in your bed. Wala, tanggapin mo lang na ganun. Tapos wag mo lang parang labanin yung feeling na yun. Just let it be. Actually, nakatulong sa akin yung ganung klase.
Yeah, I think to Ian's point, really just doing things you love. Like now coping with it, like other than just talking about it, I've started hobbies that, I've invested in a lot as well. Like I started video games, streaming those video games, having, newfound passion in cooking again, and really just keeping yourself with things that you love to do, or you at least you like to do, because really in those kinds of times that you find your new hobby, oh, you want to master this pala, then you grow pa, diba, inadvertently as well. So parang it's that kind of dynamic where it's like hitting two birds with one stone, wherein you're masaya ka na nga, then you learn a new skill pa, diba?
Dang, those are good things to run, but like, I'm not saying that I don't know how to cope, but like, for me personally, I relate to a lot of what you guys are saying. A big thing for me is listening to music. Like a fun fact. I mean, this for me, there hasn't been a day where I haven't listened to music. Like, it's that important to me. I listen to it when I wake up, listen to it throughout the day. I listen to it to wind down, and I have different playlists for different moods. Like when I'm angry, I listen to rap music. Like I just sort of get that energy out. When I feel down, I feel yeah, exactly. Parang you just sort of get lost somewhere else. You get to be somewhere else for a while. And I struggle with anxiety, so working out has been really, really great. Like like what you said, Jeff, you just get out of your own head, and pushing yourself to do something really helps. Helping with focus, I think. Yeah.
How about for the people around you though? Like, I mean, we're part of the generation, di ba, na hindi naman na tayo bato. Like, how are you guys there for the people around you, your friends, your family? Anything special you do that maybe, um, people out there listening to us can like take note of, also start doing?
I think just being available is something already special in itself, because a lot of the time that we've been coping and everything, keeping ourselves busy. Sometimes, I mean, we're social beings anyway. We're people and we love interactions. So it's while we're coping, while we're becoming so busy, that sometimes we're not there for those the people who need it and everything. So as much as it should be more normal that we're there for our friends, just being available is just something very special. And as a receiver and a giver of that availability, it's really something special.
I think yung simple na how are you, diba? Was a huge deal. And every now and then I message my friends like, kasi hindi ako I'm not the type na sumasali or sumasama ng mga inuman. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys do that? Like, does it help? I don't, so I wouldn't know. Joseph said no. Fred, ikaw ba?
Oh, I do it a lot. I do it a lot.
How does that help for you?
Well,
Kasi obviously we don't relate.
yeah, it really helps because there comes a point, there's always a structure that I notice in an inuman. Usually, the first part is just the surface level, reminiscing good times, nostalgic stuff. And then when it gets to the wee hours of the night, that's where the feels come out, and that's when the deep conversations come out, and sometimes really just those bonds that you get from there. It's something it's something I love as well. So that kind of structure I've noticed a lot as well.
Si Jeff mukhang umiinom on the weekend.
Oh.
Ano yan?
Tama si Jeff umiinom ka na.
Ako, well, not inuman. Yung sa video, letter inuman. Well, depende siguro kasi sa tao. Well, for me kasi importante sa akin yung physically present yung tao na kainuman ko. Mas na-enjoy ko siya compare sa virtual inuman. So, I don't really attend mga inuman sessions. Parang, para sa akin, di lang masaya. Di lang masaya gawin.
Oh, I think it's funny. Napag-usapan natin kanina pa yung alcohol, but we never really like, dipped our toes in the topic. Does it help? I mean, aside from helping opening up, is it like, have you guys ever used like alcohol? Does it help cope, or does it help you like wind down, help you relax? I know I have friends who are women who love wine and drink wine at the end of the night, but I don't know for guys ba meron, because I don't either. Siguro beer for me if ever, but does anyone have that experience na alcohol helps?
Well, for me, I think it's still about reading the room. Like when you're in an inuman, then you're in a reunion, parang when you're all nostalgic and everything, mahirap. When you say that kind of thing, those kinds of things. And really, when it comes to the topic being brought up, that's when people start winding down, people just letting it out. So I think even in group conversations, parang it's still a waiting game, even with alcohol involved. Well, at least in my experience.
Personally, though, do you guys think? I mean, because I'm sure there are guys out there, diba? At night they have a beer or two, or they have wine maybe, or drink a shot or two. I remember specifically mga tito ko, diba? 5 p.m. pa lang na bukas na yung tequila. And they do that for fun. But I guess the question there is there logic in it? Helpful ba for mental health, or for for a person's mental health, is having that there?
For me, yung if I drink alone, parang hindi siya nakakatulong. Pero if I drink with my friends, sobrang saya niya. Compare with drinking alone. That's why I don't really drink alone. Well, for me, hindi siya nakakatulong. Masakit ng ulo ko. Para lang siguro makatulog. Kaya uminom ako ng 1 can of beer kung di ako makatulog. Pero, yeah, sakit lang sa ulo the next morning. Yeah, yun yung sa experience ko doon.
I think it relaxes you. Like for me, when you drink, I think my logic there is when you're in that level na you get tipsy or like makulit ka na and
Sarap ng
everything.
tulog mo.
Oh, not only masarap yung tulog mo, you get super loosened up, sobrang taas ng energy mo.
Yeah,
Sobrang
kahit ikaw mag-isa.
hindi naman sa mag-isa. Siguro pag mag-isa naman, it just masarap yung tulog and really hindi mo na kailangan masyado mag-isip.
Right.
I think that's what a lot of, maraming ganon, parang gusto nilang matulog kasi mahirap mag-isip din.
And maybe
Yeah.
that's, I don't know, maybe that's, yun yung secret na parang, ano lang siya, it's a way to relax. And maybe, too much isn't good. Sabi nga ni Jeff, diba? Sakit ng ulo yun the next day. But otherwise,
Too
I mean,
less. Too less is also not good.
too little, yeah. Medyo ano rin, bitin ka lang. Baka mas lalo ka lang mapaisip, no? But, I mean, if it helps, it can. Ano naman, diba? Whatever floats your boat, everyone's got their own thing. Yeah, but I mean, siguro nga, a lot of people do that because, lalo na when they do too much. Maybe if they're struggling, any tips from you guys, if that you would say or that you would give to like the people you know or people out there lang who might be struggling with mental health, especially being a guy, being maybe our age or a little older, na sanay na hindi mag-open up. I guess I could start. I mean, to be fair, it's hard to open up, but I guess yun nga parang to take that one small step. It doesn't have to be like seeking professional help, right? Sometimes it's just opening up to someone and talking to someone. Not everyone, and here's the thing, diba? People can't read minds. So kung hindi mo sabihin na hindi ka okay, hindi nila malalaman. So if that's the case, yeah, why not? If mahirap naman, pwede namang take the time to invest on seeking professional help just because dahil binayaran mo yon, mas motivated ka na sulitin yung oras na yon. Kind of like what Fred said about the equipment he invested in sa video gaming, or maybe invest in something you really love. Like me, I spent a lot investing in like a home gym para hindi ko na kailangan umalis ng bahay para maka-workout ako and maka-enjoy. But I think super huge thing to be able to enjoy doing the things that you love to do even when you're alone, especially when you're alone, because not people aren't always going to be there with you, friends, family sometimes. So kailangan makahanap rin tayo ng sustainable practices and habits and passions that we can do even when no one else is there.
Well, for me, para siguro to sa mga guys na wala silang friends or they don't know anyone na pwede nilang i-open up to. I think the best way is to seek a professional help. I think the reason lang naman siguro hindi sila nagsisik ng professional help, well, siguro kasi takot sila. Well, siguro takot sila kasi baka isipin nila na there's really something wrong with them kaya sila nagsisik ng professional help. Well, for me, I do believe that everyone really needs to talk to a psychiatrist once in a while. I think kailangan nila, I think normal na gawin. Hindi siya yung something na yung sabing may sira ka or something. So, baka natatakot lang kasi. Sa akin nga, surprisingly, kasi parang 2 weeks ago lang, parang kumakausap lang ako sa isang kaibigan. Parang ganun lang, nag-open up lang ako. Tapos, since I know she is a professional, alam kong parang safe ako mag-vent out ng anything I want. Yeah, yun lang.
I want to share something because I made a study about this in college. Just sort of the stigma around seeking professional help, like counseling and guidance and counseling. It starts with school, like grade school, high school, like, diba, when you get sent to the guidance office, parang you did something wrong, papagalitan ka. So it sort of comes from their, medyo negative view towards, the guidance department. Um, but then for me, like in college, it really helped, to seek guidance in guidance department because it's free. It's free. Um, and same as Jeff, you just talk to someone is someone who accepts you, um, and is willing to listen, um, and supportive. They're really just there to support you. Let's say you're struggling with something, um, they want to support you so that you can overcome that. And there are different resources, that you can access. And it takes small steps now. Like, we have a crisis line here at InTouch, just a shameless plug. We have a crisis line at InTouch. It's a free 24/7 hotline. You can just call, and a responder will be there to listen to you. And if you think na professional help is something na makakatulong sa'yo, then they can refer you, and then the process starts wherein, they'll match you with a counselor, and then you take it from there. It's a process. Yeah. How about you, Fred?
And I think just to add to that point, I've been on and off for therapy for like 3 years already. And I think what goes on really is just, at first it's always going to be hard, since, who am I talking to? It's a stranger, right? So it's hard to really just vent it out all at once, even if it's a professional or not. And, eventually when it comes to a point that you feel that they're, especially the therapist would make it a safe space for you, that's when it all, buds. Like, for me, it was something that, was said to me that, really I related to. Then that's where I hit it off with my therapist. um I think it also really helps a lot when you start thinking about it and talking about it and someone actually understands. I think that's one of the reasons why it's a very, big thing for me, especially the therapy kind of thing, that you get to ask or seek help and you actually gain and benefit from that, even if, I mean, there's no one time for everyone to really solve through that therapy, but it helps. It really did for me at least.
Um, to to counter a little bit of what Fred said naman, sometimes, and this is something even personal for me, sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger. Alam mo yun, wala silang bias. They don't know you at all. So kahit anong sabihin mo, in one sense, pakiba nila kasi hindi ka naman nila kilala. And in another sense, yeah, I mean, they have no bias. So wala silang alam. They don't know anyone else around you. So you can tell them whatever, and ang unang papanigan nila ikaw. 'Di ba? Because you're the only one that they know in your social circle. But yeah, I mean, I've also had my own sessions with my therapist, and it's funny because sometimes it's fun. Like, I've had sessions where we just talk about my dreams. Nakakatuwa siya minsan. It's so different because it gives you perspectives that you don't know, that that you might have had, or that you might be experiencing. So minsan ganun lang siya. And yun nga as we've all said, it's a safe space. So therapy is like um it doesn't have to be something you stress about or you're afraid of. So if you're ever out there, if anyone's listening and ever out there thinking if they should get it, Joseph already said that InTouch has yung shameless plug namin na crisis line. But more than that, kung nagsischool ka pa, if you're a kid, if you're a teen, if you're in college, guidance counseling is free. You have that office. Most schools have that. If you're at work, a lot of companies, if you're in corporate, a lot of companies have EAPs. Or if they don't know what that means, it's employee assistance programs. Na hindi lang yun for physical health like HMO, but as is mental service health services kasama na rin doon. And that could be a huge thing. It doesn't have to mean na alam mo yung siguro one thing that as a therapist that I really relate to is hihintayin mo pa bang hindi mo na kaya or nasasabog ka na, di ba, before you seek help. And I think everyone at one point or another has experienced that kind of stuff, feeling that way na sobra-sobra na. And I guess yung tanong doon is, gusto mo bang umulit yon? I know I don't. So that's why I just try to take care of myself personally, my mental health as well. Like I said, for me, it's a lot of, I have my own therapist. It's a lot of fitness. It's a lot of doing my own thing and just enjoying and um, trying to survive the pandemic.
Well, I like what you said, Ian. With parang wag mong hintayin na umabot dun ulit. And pandemic has really pushed a lot of people, especially their mental health na parang everyone's at the brink of breaking down sometimes. But it also takes work, taking care of yourself. Sometimes it's not easy. Self-care is a really important thing. You hear that a lot in mental health. I think we should talk about that more. And self-care is not just like pampering yourself. It's not just like eating takeout today, or like sleeping in, or binging a series. It's not always that. It's not always just easy like that. Sometimes it also takes work. Sometimes self-care is difficult. Sometimes it's pushing yourself. Sometimes it's taking the time to change unhealthy habits. Also involves reaching out more, talking to other people. So I guess, so anyone who's listening, to those of you watching this podcast, yeah, I just want to tell you guys, I guess, small steps. That's really important. Just if you're not feeling well, if you're not at the best, just find a small step, just something that keeps you going, you know, something that gives you hope, maybe something that you like, and you start from there. And it could be a small thing, could be something that you're grateful for, like, oh, this day, the sun, it wasn't so hot today, that could be something, or you saw a good anime today, you want to watch that, that's good. Medyo magulo, but yeah, just sort of just small steps. Slowly, day in, day out, I'm just trying to make it one day at a time, and sometimes that's okay, especially in this pandemic. Yeah.
I think I just really want to emphasize that, like, small steps, or even just celebrating small victories that you've done. Really, just celebrating those stuff. We're all overwhelmed, especially in the pandemic, even in work or school, that we're so results oriented, or the bigger picture, but we forget to really trust the process, or really celebrate our growth in that kind of process, that we just focus on the results. Just to lead to that point, even that, everyone, or a lot of us, even maybe the listeners, are working from home right now, or like studying from home. And this kind of really blurs the work-life balance kind of thing. And I think one thing that's worth mentioning as well is just knowing when to set your boundaries, when you know yourself best. Really knowing when to limit yourself. Oh, this is when I stop work. Because sometimes work can go all the way through the wee hours of the night. Sometimes, diba? And I think what's good to know, even for other people out there as well, is to take a break, as in, really just to recharge, and really to take yourself out there for a bit, doing what you think you love, or just watching a movie, or just watching a short video as a break, and you get back more productive than ever. So I think that's also something that's worth mentioning as well.
Well, for me, siguro the reason why I'm here is to really improve myself para um, siguro sa mga next generation sa baba ako, mas magiging better na. So, maging lahat ng nakikita kong hindi tama ay mas maitatama ko. That's why I'm here. I'm seeking professional help, and I'm glad that I'm sharing this my experience with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny kasi parang inuman lang. We started a little bit lighter, we're ending at a more serious note. But I mean, overall, these, sabi nga, like what Joseph said, these self-care concepts and ideas that we're giving out just as mental health advocates, because we all are, um, they're applicable to everyone, diba? Men's mental health is a little more nuanced in that syempre, iba talaga the way we grew up as guys compared to siguro our friends or the women in our life. But when it comes to self-care and just advocating good mental health, it's applicable to everyone. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully you guys, whoever's listening, hopefully you guys learned something today or got a little bit of insight. Things are changing for men's mental health. I mean, a lot of us grew up with the stoic the stoic father figures na talagang mahirap to move. But as millennials and as Gen Z grow older, as we become the father figures and patriarchs in families, hopefully things keep changing for the better so that men's mental health doesn't become an issue that needs to be talked about anymore. It's just going to be mental health for everyone, and how to care for yourself, how to have that self-care, how to take a break, how to be kind to yourself. So yeah, that's it for men's mental health. So anyone who's listening, please listen to our next podcast episode, and um, have a happy Sunday, everyone. Try to take care of yourself, have some self-care, do the things you love to do, and take a break when you need to. So one day at a time, we'll all get through this pandemic. So from everyone at In Touch, well, from all four of us here right now, but also from everyone else at In Touch in our community of mental health advocates, happy Sunday, everyone, and see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye,
Bye.
guys.
Happy
Happy
Sunday.
Sunday, everyone.
Happy Sunday.